Good evening. I'm Bruce W. Pepich, the Executive Director and Curator of Collections at the Racine Art Museum. And on behalf of everyone involved with the museum, I want to welcome you this evening as we celebrate the beginning of the launch of the 14th Annual International Peeps Exhibition at the Racine Art Museum. I'm joined by Kendra Voles and Kiefer Waterman, who are going to help present the prize winners that we'll be announcing this evening, and by Tyler Potter, who's handling all of our technical connections. I wanted to talk for just a minute about the history of the show. We view it as a wonderful way to get people from all walks of life thinking creatively, how to use a candy and the feelings and connections that they have with the candy as a starting point to make some creative object or to make a statement about the world or things that interest them. Many of them create puns and have a great deal of fun with this particular event. Frequently, the pieces are also made with things that people find in their own environments at their home, in their homes. It involves a lot of recycling, a lot of clever uses of something being repurposed, if you look carefully. And also at the same time, it's a great way to chase away cabin fever and to bring a lot of color into the doldrums of winter. For those of you who are used to attending and participating in this event, you're going to notice a little different situation here right off the bat. Lisa Englender, who was on our staff for 21 years and who inaugurated this show, and it was her baby. Lisa retired at the end of last year to go to work full-time in her own studio being creative. She's going to have a show at OS Projects in downtown Racine that opens up on May 13th. So if you want to check out what she does in her own time creatively, it's a good opportunity for you to turn the tables on her. She did ask me to tell all of you that she wished all of you a very creative season ahead, and congratulations on being in the exhibition again this year. The show that was organized by Lisa and her staff in reception and retail, and also with Patty Roberson, her assistant, is now being handled by the museum's exhibitions department and its exhibition department staff, and we thank them for their efforts on behalf of the museum this year. Some important facts about this year's show before we get into presenting the awards. The show opens this Thursday, March 30th, and runs through Saturday, April 15th. The museum hours are Wednesday through Saturday from noon until 4 p.m. Admission prices are $10 for adults and $8 for seniors, that's people 62 years and older, and students over the age of 18. We have a free First Friday during the course of the show. It's on April 7th. Guests are welcome to come during this free day, but we're warning you in advance. It is Good Friday, and a lot of children will be off school, so we're expecting it to be kind of crowded that day. If you don't want to stand in line for a long time, you might want to come at a different time during the exhibition. We do want to remind you that we are closed on Sundays, including Easter Sunday, during the course of the exhibition. I want to thank in particular the businesses and the individuals who made financial contributions to this year's show to help underwrite some of the costs involved in mounting the Peeps show. We are very, very grateful for their financial support, and we welcome donations in all amounts and denominations to help us in all of our program expenses so that we can do these things for the public. In addition, Sew and Save of Racine has donated a sewing machine again this year. It's a Sewist 725S. We're raffling it for $5 a ticket or $20 for 5 tickets, and you can purchase those at the reception desk. The machine retails for $499. It has a whole lot of tricks that it can produce. It has 23 built-in stitches, a one-step buttonhole foot, an adjustable foot pressure, and a built-in needle threader, which I think would be really helpful at this time in life. I have a hard time doing that myself, and it may make it so that by this time next year you're entering a stitched piece for the Peeps show if you win. While visiting RAM, make sure you check out all the galleries and the other works of art on exhibition. We're offering a scavenger hunt this year that will be available for participants of all ages. Through the length of the exhibition, you can pick up information on this at the front desk. It encourages you to explore all the galleries and to find things. You have to finish the hunt, and if you do, you win a Peeps themed sticker. As usual, we're expecting coverage of the show in a variety of print and electronic media, so keep an eye out for that. We will also share information with all the entrants on where we're being covered and where you, with links and things that you can follow up on. I am happy to tell you that Fox 6 Wake Up News is coming down from Milwaukee this Thursday, doing live remotes for all of their morning news shows. So if you want to see us live and see if you can catch us on our toes and see what kinds of things happen with some of the exhibiting artists are going to be interviewed. There's going to be quite a few different people talking about different aspects of the show and how it relates to our southeastern Wisconsin life and also to the museum. You can catch us then live, but we'll also have links to a lot of that coverage later if you're busy on Thursday morning. We're ready to do the awards. Now, some facts. This year's 14th International Exhibition includes 142 works. Okay, 142. Of these, there are 18 in the young people's category. That's 12 years and under. There are 29 in the group, family, and organization category. That can be anything from a classroom group, a Girl Scout troop, a grandparent and a grandchild, husband and wife, or two friends. And then in addition to those two groups, the adult division has a large amount of participation this year. 95 entrants were in the adults. It's been interesting to see. The show used to be more with children's participation, less with adults, and now it's flipped into the adults really playing with it a lot more. I think it shows that people over 18 need to have good creative play as much as anybody at any age group, and that's what this exhibition is all about. We estimate that these three entry groups together, when you add up all the groups creating objects, represent about 200 people who worked on making pieces for this year's show. Participants came from all over southeastern Wisconsin and northern Illinois, but also we have entries from New York State and Ohio, so things were shipped in. All award recipients will receive a signed certificate that gives them bragging rights for the recognition of receiving their award, suitable for framing and framed in many instances, so you'll be able to see that. But it'll be a fun thing to tote around and brag about. The first prize winners in the adult, the group, family, and organization, the young people category, the young people's category, and also the People's Choice will each receive a Golden Peep Award. Now, these have been created by Amanda Cosgrove Paffrath of the Hot Shop Glass in downtown Racine. Amanda also has a piece exhibited in the show. We've had her wonderful awards in recent years, and they are always hotly sought after, as much as any Oscar you would ever see Hollywood people strive to achieve. So we're really happy to be able to have these again, and we thank Amanda for donating these to the exhibition. The recipient of the People's Choice Award, People's Choice Award, will receive the Founders Award, which is a selection of Peeps candy and merchandise donated by Lisa Englander in addition to their Golden Peeps. So there's a really a special award this year for people who are voted in, for the person who's voted into that category. So the first piece we're going to look at is the Mayor's Choice Award. This was selected by Racine's Mayor Corey Mason, who's back doing this for the first time since the pandemic started. So we were happy to have that additional step in the in opening up again and becoming more like we used to be in normal. This is going to Yvonne Mayer, who lives in Racine, and this is Vincent Van Peep and the Morning Stars. And it depicts Van Gogh's home, where he created most of his famous paintings, and it has his bed and studio, and his bandaged side of his head for his where his ear was damaged, but also the back and the outsides also depict images inspired by famous Van Gogh paintings, like his paintings of iris plants, and also his famed Starry Night. And this is the studio where he created that painting. The mayor gets to pick first. We always want to make the field broad for him. And he was just drawn to this piece because he felt it had so much detail. I mean, there are painted reproductions of Van Gogh paintings. There's a takeoff of a blue peep in the famous Van Gogh self-portrait with the ear bandaged on the peep. Yvonne really, put a lot of effort into this and paid a lot of attention to detail, which is what we really like to see when we're picking pieces for awards. She will receive a certificate signed by the mayor, not by myself and Lena Vigna, our curator of exhibitions, but signed by the mayor, and also a little packet of material from the mayor's office, some mayoral swag, as we were calling it, things with City of Racine insignias on them. So we congratulate Yvonne, and of course the fact that the mayor gave an award to someone whose last name is Mayor was also not lost on us as we tried to keep ourselves organized and straight for the last week. It was easy to get confused, but we congratulate Yvonne on that. Our next award is the RAM Postcard Peep Award. We've been doing this for the last 3 years now, counting this year, where we pick a piece in the show that we reproduce as a color postcard to sell in the museum store, but we also give a stack of these to the recipient. And if we want to put that up on the easel, the award this year goes to Holly Autumn for her piece titled "If Peeps Could Fly." Now, this was selected by this year's jury panel, our curator of exhibitions, Lena Vigna, and myself, and it depicts a peep-inspired concrete or marble fountain. This is a stitched quilt, so this is all stitched fabric, and the peeps have all grown. The chicks have grown wings and have flown out of the peep coop and are fluttering around to drink out of the fountain. And what we found appealing about this to begin with was how she used different shades of gray fabric to depict a stone fountain, to suggest stone or marble in its mottled surface. But also you'll notice around the lip of the fountain there's a peep, upside down peep motif, and there's a peep at the top. But the background is also very interesting. She used salvage, the printed text that you find on a roll of yardage, of fabric yardage, that also often tells you who the name of the manufacturer is and what the style name or of the design of the fabric may be, and some of the other printed information. And it's something you cut off when you're sewing. But as with a lot of the people in this year's show, there's a great deal of interest in recycling, repurposing, and not seeing everything go into the landfill. And she's actually taken that and used that as a design for the back of the background of the work. It also reminds me of, you sometimes see on the Antiques Roadshow quilts made out of the printed satin bands that they used to wrap around cigars when you would buy cigars, and that's kind of a collectible. And then women were using them to make quilts, and this kind of reminded me of that same kind of approach of recycling something from a commercial entity. So we congratulate Holly on this honor. You'll be able to find these postcards in the museum store in probably about 5 or 6 days. So our first of the 3 categories that we're going to be talking about this evening is the Young People's Award. These are artists under the age of 13. And the third place peep goes to Marie Russa for her work titled American Peep. Marie will receive a signed certificate signed by Lena and myself, congratulating her. It's got all the certificates have official RAM Peep logo with a ram sticker on it, and also Peep imagery. So it's totally official. And what Marie has done is she's done a takeoff on Grant Wood's very famous portrait that's in the collection of the Art Institute of Chicago, titled American Gothic, of a well, everybody thinks it's a farmer and his wife, but it really was a farmer and his daughter, I think, who posed for this. So we have one Peep being the gentleman and one Peep being the lady of the house, and he's holding the pitchfork as he does in the original work. And what drew us to this is that it is a drawing. It's a little watercolor and a pencil piece, and the fact that one of the rules is it either has to incorporate Peeps or depict Peep characters in it. And we like the fact that it was showing her talent in working on paper. And a lot of the museum's permanent collection is works on paper, and particularly because this is a very famous image in the history of American art. And also it happens to be held in a permanent collection in an art museum in Chicago, right in our region. We felt was just really a nice example of her looking around her region for inspiration. So we're congratulating Marie Russa on this and honoring her Peeps piece with this award. The second Peep goes to Isabella Aviles for her work titled Snappy the Shark, and Snappy is getting ready to snap, I think, here in this piece. So Isabella has taken Peeps and actually sculpted them into a shark's face kind of coming at you out of the background, which also looks to me like it may be out of melted Peeps. It's puffy paint. It's puffy paint. Okay, so it is puffy paint. It's puffy paint and puffy Peeps. But we have Google eyes here that have been added in as well to give you that idea of the shark's famed dead-eye stare. But the idea of taking the Peeps and using aspects of them to make the teeth in the shark's mouth, using them on the interior of the mouth, and also creating the snout of the shark in its mouth with blue bunny Peeps is a good example of adapting these shapes and figures into this. So Isabella will receive a signed certificate, and we congratulate her on this recognition as well. Now the first Peep, the first prize for the Young People's category, is being presented to Jack Thompson for his sculptural work titled The Great Barrier Peep. And Jack will receive a signed certificate and also the hand-blown golden glass peep created by Amanda Cosgrove. And what we have here is we have some snorkelers, and they're hanging in mid-space and swimming, as you can see whenever you move the box. And we're using beads to suggest the bubbles coming out of their snorkels. Their snorkels and masks are created out of pipe cleaners. There's all sorts of things in this piece that you find around the house that have been repurposed and painted like cardboard packing carton material for coral reefs. We have the ends of dusters being cut off and used for, again, some kind of sea anemones that you would find. We have loofah, like plastic loofah materials being used to suggest, again, different kinds of plant material and sea life you'd find on the floor of the ocean. Also, this is another big ecological statement because there's a lot of concern about the Great Barrier Reef, and it's a world important resource for sea life off the coast of Australia. And it's a great way, again, to remind young people how important it is to study geography. And also it clicks in with their interests that they all have in school about wanting to stop global warming and also being more careful about how we handle trash and the things that are byproducts of our daily life. So again, we congratulate Jack Thompson for making this work. Our next category is the group, family, and organization category. And this is basically any Peep entry that has been created by more than one person. So it can be a family group, it can be a group of friends, it can be people in an organization. And the third Peep in this category goes to Bobby and Courtney Poppy for their work titled Spider Peep Stops the Train. Now, if we can get close to this, what really enamored Lena and myself about this piece is that they took a shoebox, and by painting it and striping it and adding thumbtacks, they turned it into a New York City subway car. And of course, we're meant to remember one of the famous scenes from the Spider-Man movie franchise, where he's on the front of the runaway train, and using his webbing and attaching it to buildings, he's stopping the train, which has of course been menaced by one of the supervillains in the upper left corner here of the sculpture. But people are watching from all the windows in the apartment buildings surrounding where the train is. It's a very, very lively composition that takes me back to watching this scene in the movie, and shows that they really put a lot of thought into this, and it took two people to produce this. And it's pretty obvious that that's the case. So Bobby and Courtney will receive a signed certificate, and we congratulate them. The second piece, the second peep and piece in this category, is also an elaborate sculptural work. Should we start with the outside, maybe showing let's show the cover from the outside. And this was created by Stephanie Lazzaroni with her grandson, Henry Schoonover, and it's titled Captain Peepmo and Ned Fight the Giant Squid. So it's basically, a wonderful re-examination of Jules Verne's 20,000 Peeps, this time Under the Sea. And you have the cover of the book opened, which they've created. And then we can turn to the inside. And we always like to talk about how when you read literature, the book comes to life in your mind and in your imagination. And I always say what's even more wonderful about books is that you have an unlimited special effects budget in your imagination. And that's something that Hollywood still hasn't figured out how to master quite yet. And what we have here is the book opening up and becoming a three-dimensional diorama. It's a very ambitious piece. It's got a lot of paint application, and again, the peeps are the stars of the show here. We have a plastic foliage that you'd find in an aquarium incorporated here to make us feel like we're really looking at underwater, but also the application of blue cellophane that again reminds us of the rippling effect of water and water currents. The floor of the ocean floor is rendered in paint and also gravel, so you've got rocks and things that you'd find on the sea floor as well. But a wonderfully imaginative work, and we congratulate both of them on this work. There is a wonderful octopus, by the way, with one googly eye. Google eyes were very big this year, and I think it's probably a reference to Everything Everywhere All at Once. If some of the people that have made things have caught it, we're going to see a lot of Google eyes, I think, in the next year. Then the first Peep Award winner in this category goes to Andrew Conitzer and Catherine O'Keefe for their Peep work titled The Library of Banned Books. And we have a lot of discussion right now about what books people should be allowed to read. And on the outside here, we have a row of peeps carrying books outside the door, and over the wall on the exterior, it says Fahrenheit 451 Lane, which of course was a famous Ray Bradbury book written, I think, in the 1950s or 1960s about book censorship and the burning of books to prevent people from having ideas. What is amazing about this piece is that each of the books on the shelves is an individual three-dimensional book that can be taken off the shelf, and each of the books has a cover and represents one of the books that's been famously banned, like Alice in Wonderland, or trying to think, there's Huck Finn frequently is banned. So there are books that I think many people would find very surprising, including like Where the Wild Things Are. It gets banned sometimes out of children's libraries. So again, it's meant to make us think about how we share ideas and how we converse about the ideas that books and authors present to us, and it's a timely topic of discussion, but also it's very, very well made and very thought out. It has a lot of details. So again, when you come through the exhibition, if you do, spend a lot of time looking closely at things. People often come out and say, you know, I don't remember seeing that, when someone who was with them said, oh, did you like this piece or that piece? So I'd say don't get overwhelmed, but take your time and spend a lot of time paying attention to the details, because people have spent a lot of effort putting that into these pieces. So again, we congratulate Andrew and Catherine, and they'll be picking up one of these gold Peeps when they come to see the exhibit. Our last category is the adult division, and we're going to start with, we had so many people in the adult division, there were so many more works to look at, we really couldn't just keep it to 3, so we added 4 honorable mentions just to call some of the additional works out to attention. So the first honorable mention is going to Alison Wojan for her work titled Peep Kong, and Alison is reproducing the famous scene in the 1930s movie King Kong, where the giant ape climbs to the top of the Empire State Building and is dive bombed by airmen in a biplane that are shooting him. And this entire piece was made out of repurposed cardboard boxes with holes cut in them for windows, very, very carefully cut. The spire of the Empire State Building, which looks a lot like this in real life, is replicated with bottle caps and things that she stacked and painted silver. So this is all cardboard and Peeps and recycled merchandising materials. One of the windows even has like a screaming monk head in it, which I just caught. I mean, again, an example of the more time you spend looking, the more you will see in these pieces. We thought it was lively, it was clever, it was fun. She made all the parts. She didn't use necessarily a made-up airplane that she bought at the dime store. She made the airplane out of cardboard and painted it, so it even has a propeller. It's really nicely thought out, and it's perched on wires, so it's flying. It actually kind of moves a bit in the air currents when you walk by it. You can see me as I shake the table a little bit. It trembles. We think it's a very, very clever work. So congratulations to Allison, and she will receive an honorable mention certificate from us. The next honorable mention goes to Corinthia Klein for her piece titled The Picture of Dorian Peep. Now, of course, The Picture of Dorian Gray is a famous book, and it was made into a film, and I believe in the 40s, and this is the first time I think that this subject has been in the Peeps competition in all 14 years. And so we have Dorian Peep here. Of course, the story goes that Dorian Gray had a portrait made of himself, and he was really kind of an ugly person, and he hurt people and did nasty things throughout his life, but he never aged. He was as beautiful at the end of his life as he was when he was young. But this portrait, every time he did something ugly or mean, the portrait got uglier, to the point that it became this representation of what was really going on in his soul. Okay, and in the end of the film, when he dies, he becomes ugly, and so we have the fakely beautiful Dorian looking at his ugly portrait. And what we were also drawn to was the fact that Corinthia took Peep candies and made one of those classic fancy, quote, carved wooden gilt frames out of gluing Peeps around the frame. So we congratulate Corinthia on that. I hope you're enjoying learning what some of the things were that attracted us to these pieces. We tried to pick a variety of different kinds of things, different recycled material approaches, different references to art history and literature, and so forth. This is the next honorable mention in the adult category, and this award goes to Betsy Kinkema for Leonardo da Vinci. And this is an example of course, it's a famous Leonardo self-portrait. You can't do a Peep show at an art museum without referencing some great works of art. And in this case, she's cut, carved, and I believe melted Peeps to make Leonardo's hat and jacket, but also his beard, all of these squiggly orange strips are stripped and cut and melted Peeps. And again, it's attached to a reproduction of one of his paintings, and it's using Peeps as the material. Congratulations to you on that. And the fourth and last of our honorable mentions in the adult category is a piece by Veronica Gagliano Avercamp titled Peep Lily. Now, you're going to have a hard time finding the peeps right away on this one, but if you look closely at the leaves on the lily plant, you're going to see what look like pods on the inside of the leaves, and they're Peeps chicks that have been painted to be camouflaged in with the leaf, suggesting the pod or the bud of the lily plant. But also there's a slight scary quality to this, and it keeps making me think of the 1950s movie The Invasion of the Body Snatchers, where they were growing these pods that would, when they got to a certain point, would take over the human beings. And so it talks about how a plant can be quite beautiful and exotic, and also sometimes almost so exotic that it can be frightening visually. I think a really, really fun, very elegant creation. The pot, the combination of the way she's treated the leaves, are really cleverly well done. So we're congratulating Veronica, and she will receive her signed certificate as well. The third Peep in the adult category is being presented to Susan Buehler for her ceramic titled The Dawn of Peep. And this is a work is inspired by classic, historic, pre-Columbian, Central and South American pottery. It's reminiscent of a drinking jug with a handle on the back and a spout. But of course, it's in the shape of the Peep bunny, and it has a Peep chick amulet around its neck for decoration, and the surface is decorated with all kinds of abstract geometric designs like you would find in some pre-Columbian pots and ceramics. The surface is burnished. I mean, she really gave a lot of thought to how these ceramics were made in those cultures, and then translated it into a contemporary American examination of the Peep. Many of these drinking vessels and jugs in those societies were created in the shape of animals, so creating it in the shape of a Peeps bunny is totally reasonable. So we congratulate Susan on this recognition, and we will be awarding her with one of the signed certificates. The second Peep award in the adult category goes to Debbie Peck for her sculpture titled Octopeep. And this is both paper mache and Peeps and has Google eyes, but it has a lot going on. It's a very, very active composition, and it is a competition because I think the octopus is having a hard time keeping up with the Peeps. It's snatching as many of them as it can find floating around it in the water, but I think there's more Peeps than there are tentacles. We were really just so tickled with how the surface of this is very actively and beautifully decorated. There's a lot going on from the standpoint of the sculpture. The tentacles are going in all different ways. There's a lot of movement being expressed in this piece. You can really imagine it in action. It's not a very static piece, even though it is still. Right now, as we look at it, it looks like it's constantly in motion as you walk around it. It's both playful and a little menacing at the same time, but I think it's meant to be playfully menacing because it's very beautifully patterned and colored, and just a wonderful orchestration of all the elements that she's picked to make the work. So we're congratulating Debbie on this recognition. And then last but not least, the first Peep Award in the adult category. We're not quite done with it yet. Is being presented to Jean Wells for her work titled Steep and Peep. And what it really is it is a handmade glazed ceramic teapot with 2 cups and saucers. We're exhibiting them that way, but for tonight we don't want to move any more than we have to. So we're bringing one of the cups and saucers out with the teapot to show you scale and how they work together as a set. And we were taken by the fact that this is so resolved, and it's for a playful piece, it's a very serious work in that she made 2 cups and 2 saucers and a teapot with a lid. Teapots are very challenging works and are frequently thought of as an example of how a ceramic artist shows you his or her technical mastery, because the teapot in a small space incorporates a lot of different shapes. They have to have a body to hold tea. They have to be hollow. They have to function and pour out of a spout. They have a handle shape. They have a lid. The lid has to fit inside the top of the teapot. So there's lots of functional aspects that have to be taken into consideration before they even have a chance to decorate them. And then to see what she's done by using Peeps in primary colors on the surface, they're also kind of a raised, there's an etched away quality of this where you can feel the dimensionality of the design. So she's both sort of scratched that away in the soft clay and also highlighted it with color. Of course, we love the fact that we have ceramic classes at our Worcester campus, and I think both of our first and third prizes in this year's show are ceramic, and it harks to that. But also in the case of Jean Wells here with the first award, we're known for RAM's collection of contemporary teapots made by artists, and we're thinking that, again, this is an example of someone who's maybe looking at something that the museum is known for, but not known for obviously, and she's finding that as kind of a playful thing to play with us on, and we're responding to that. So you will find many other things in the show that you would like to give prizes to. We always run out of awards every year because there's so many great things, but we did want to select, Lena and I were specifically looking for things that we thought would point out kind of the breadth of what's been submitted and the quality of the work that's been created. And we're hoping you will come and visit and vote for the People's Choice Award. While you're here, you have to be in person in order to vote. And I thank you for attending this evening's awards ceremony. Again, the exhibit opens this Thursday, March 30th, and runs through April 15th. RAM is open Wednesday through Saturday from noon until 4 p.m. Tickets can be purchased in person at the museum when you arrive. For more information on this and everything else about the RAM that's going on at the RAM and Worcester campuses, please visit our website, www.ramart.org, or call us at the RAM main information number. That's 262-638-8300. We'll be happy to welcome you in person, and we'll be happy to help you online or on the phone if you need help. Okay? Have a great start to spring, and we look forward to seeing you here in the next 2 weeks. Thank you.